Good morning, welcome to a morning review. This is Kim Watson speaking on Wednesday the 3rd of June. Okay, let's have a look at the euro dollar first. And as you can see, yesterday we had a really good push up. We've actually pushed through the 21 moving average here. It's only just pushed through, so there is a chance that we could get a bit of a reaction from this sort of level. One thing to watch, if we break yesterday's highs, we've then triggered a pivot swing. We had one previously, and this is sort of like a secondary pivot swing, a continuation move effectively of this overall move. I often talk about pivot swings. There's one on this point here, there's one over here, there was one here, but although that one didn't trigger immediately, there was a continuation one here that did trigger and fell through. There was one here that went through. So when they do trigger, they often go somewhere. Not always, but there's a reasonable probability we may, if it runs past the highs here, that we'll see a continuation to the upside. Okay, so where are we looking to in terms of resistance for this possible move? Well, got a midi just above us. We're just running into these prior highs over to the left-hand side here. We've done just over a 50% retrace on this move, so it's broken all those levels, so could as I say continue. Looking at the shorter time frames, 4 hourlies, well, it would not quite up to divergence. It never quite made the highs here, but the RSI certainly slightly lower, which you could argue well that comes with the territory of it not getting quite up there, and it's pulled back of course since then. So well, it just might want a little retrace back towards its lower bands here, certainly a possibility. And if we come down to the 60-minute chart, there we go, got a daily pivot below us, but that's was when I was measuring it a short while ago, is around about 70 pips below, so it's got quite a decent move to do that. Now a break of this trend line may see it coming back down at least that 21 moving average, so just watching for that. However, any change of direction here and any sudden moves may look for a move to the upside there, but certainly a reasonable probability of it coming down towards its daily pivot before we see a continuation. Cable's similar picture in terms of the shove up it's had. The only thing is it's diverged on the hourly, so may want to break. I've got a couple of trend lines on this hourly, but let's just go back up and look at the upper time frames, and we're just short of the monthly pivot, but we just ran through the daily 8. I was talking about this yesterday as a potential target. It's hit its weekly pivot, just short of that monthly pivot at the moment. It may react to these sort of levels. It's back into the 4 hourly 50. There's reasoning now with this. It has gone higher. There's a bit of divergence showing on the 4 hourlies as well, but that may just be a temporary thing, and we could just see a push up towards that monthly pivot. So sitting and watching this for a moment, a break below the sort of trend line or the support level there, and that 21 moving average. If people are already short, they may add to that position. But as I say, there is a possibility we could push back up again. We'll see how we run this morning. As I say, there are reasons why we could push up, but the sort of the targets to the downside, I'm just looking at 53.10 there, 53.10, which is okay, it's near enough, so we could easily just run through to that pivot if it does get a move on. But again, it's just like with the euro, it's a fair old track down there still. It's it's 55 pips now. It's not as much as it was a short while ago when I was looking, but still a fair old trip, and not always seen, but possible. Okay, dollar yen. So I just tracked out. We finally broke that sort of bigger trend that was sitting across here, but let's look at a bigger time frame again. Bearish engulfing yesterday, so we fully did a proper reversal candle there. So again, there's chance of a continuation to the downside in this way. So effectively, dollar weakness coming through if it moves to the downside here. This may do it on its own, even if the euro and the pound sort of run in one direction. We may see the yen just coming off a little bit and strengthening against the dollar. The 50 MA here maybe a sort of a target sort of area for where it comes down to. It does pull off a bit more, which was around about an hourly 200, which is quite a way below us. However, it is one of the closest ones to its daily pivot, which is above, but it's already reacted to the 21s and the 34 there, 21, 34 moving average, 100 moving average, also given resistance. So perhaps a break to the upside, we'll see it run up to its daily pivot, in which case it's going with where the pound and the euro seem to be going at the moment. Finally, the Aussie dollar. Okay, so the Aussie dollar during the Asian session ran into its monthly pivot, so it's another stat out of the way for me. Possible areas from here, but if it pushes up any further, well, we've got the 21 as a sort of next target. That is still pointing southward a little bit, so may see some reaction from where we are now. It's not looking like it's pulling back as much as some of the other currencies. But again, it did do a divergence between the highs here and here. It's just to say, waiting to see if we see any sort of breakdown. But again, a good distance away. It's a long distance away here, over 78 pips here. So possibly less of a chance of getting down to hit the pivot. So it's possibly, particularly with slow movement, maybe one knows that you just leave alone. As I say, push to the upside break of the Asian session highs, well, may give us double divergence at those sort of levels, but it may run up to its daily R1 there at 78.38, and maybe a reasonable chance of that. So that's where we are in terms of the market. So looking like the dollar's maybe weakening fractionally or against the markets or the other currencies at this juncture. Now let's just check the news. So I just brought the website page in there, and as you see, we've got quite a bit of news out. The Aussie GDP has already been released, hence the rally there. The UK services PMI is out this morning at 9:30. We have seen some pickups in the construction and in the manufacturing. Did we see manufacturing slightly? But anyway, key figure services, it's a higher percentage of our GDP, so watching for that at 9:30. European interest rate decision at 12:45, and then Draghi speaking at 1:30. Not expecting any reaction at the interest rate decision, so that'll probably be a flat move. And as with the non-farm payrolls are starting picking up again, the ADP non-farm payrolls are starting to give us a bit more volatility again. Particularly as we're in the month of June, and this is the month that originally, and it was suggested that interest rates in the US might start increasing. So there'll be a great emphasis on these numbers again, and we may see a bit more volatility around 1:15. Draghi speaking at 1:30. It may be that with questions, and there'll probably be questions on Greece, etc. So we'll see what happens at 1:30, but expect some volatility. And then not the US services figure or non-manufacturing figure at 3 o'clock. So here's the key figures out for today. Quite a bit of news there then, so should get some reasonable volatility. Okay, that's it for me. Have a great one. Bye for now.